recognition event for the Trillium Foundation because they've been gracious enough to give us funding. And we're going to hear all about that from the chair of the Federation of Metro Tenants Associations, Effie Blahanakos.
Nice. I always like to touch on my last name. So thank you so much, everyone. My name, again, is Effie Blahanakos. I have the absolute privilege of being on the board of the Federation of Metro Tenants for about 6 years now, and I'm the board chair. And it's really because of days like this and events like this and opportunities to hear from each other, which makes this all worthwhile. And so we're here today at the Bayview Village Place Tenant Association heart, the heart of this tenant association, because this is what we are, as a tenant community, striving to do more of. The great work that's being done here to make sure that tenants are in clean, safe, and healthy homes, and that it's more than just about housing, but it's about our community, and it's about what makes us all work. And so we're very excited to have an opportunity to work with the Trillium Foundation and Derek Nymore. Did I say his last name right?
That's right.
I try hard to say last names right, for obvious reasons, is here, and we'll hear from him in a bit. And of course, we have MPP David Zimmer here, fantastic, and we'll have an opportunity to hear from him and all the great work that the province is doing. Councillor Shiner and all the chit-chatting have already started hearing about his commitment to tenant rights and housing here in this ward. And Councillor Davis and Councillor Peruzza are on their way. Stuck in traffic, I believe. We won't talk about transit perhaps today, but we'll maybe leave that one alone. As a Scarborough resident, I'm saying maybe we'll leave that one alone. But for now, how about we just leave that for now? But really, this is an opportunity to get to know each other because we know what makes this work are people. And as corny as that is, we know that's what it is. We know it's our commitment to each other. We know it's our commitment to good housing, to good health, to good, safe communities, and all of that starts with people, and it's the partnerships that we have as tenants, as tenant associations, and trying to build more, as well with our partnerships with our supporters, like the Ontario Trillium Foundation, like our elected members at provincial parliament, at city council, and we're working hard with the federal government to see if we can bring more partners there as well. So don't really want to make this show all about us at this point, but did want to perhaps maybe start by hearing from our supporters, and if MPP Zimmer may have a moment, we could start with him in a quick second. Until then, perhaps I can. Not yet.
I can talk a little bit about some of the things we're going to do.
Sure, that would be great.
So it's a meet and greet. A lot of you here, a lot of you do great things in your buildings. We've invited a number of politicians to come. A lot of them are working on things at City Council or at the legislature. So the plan, as Councillor Davis slides into first, right under the wire, is after a number of speeches and people that are going to be discussing some things, we're going to have breakout sessions. We're going to get you a one-on-one time or 4-on-1, 5-on-1 time with a councillor and MPP, and we're going to do some switching around to find out what they're doing, and they're going to hear about what you're doing in your building. Okay, folks?
Great. If you'd like to join us, Mr. Zimmer. The floor is yours.
Oh, well, thank you very much for the invitation to join you this afternoon. To get a plug-in for Willowdale, right smack dab in the center of Willowdale. Been in this building a number of times. Just had a recent chat with you. Oh, there you are, yeah. And I was only here maybe 4 minutes. Yep. And I've got a host of issues to deal with already. From her.
Get them when you can.
Let me, and I say that in a complimentary sense.
Yes.
Alex Barber in the blue sweater is from my constituency office. I expect a number of you have had dealings with Alex and calling the constituency office. And my good friend and colleague who shares the sort of east side of the riding, David Shiner's here. Nice to see you, David. And from the Trillium Foundation, but you're going to speak separately after me.
Very briefly.
Yeah, it's gonna time. But, you know, the government working with the Trillium Foundation, I have to be careful how I say this, working in conjunction with the Trillium Foundation, and with a little bit of push from our new Premier, Catherine Nguyen, has got a real issue in tenant issues, among a range of other issues. There are issues that tenants face that are different. Some are similar, but lots of them are different. Condominium owners face, homeowners face, and there was a sense that we should be doing something to help tenants be able to deal with this issue, to give them the capacity to deal with these issues. And capacity is another word for resources, and resources is another word for getting some money, so we can spend some money to get some things done, whether it's advocacy or other things. And that's the whole point behind the $126,000 to the Federation. And with that, I'm going to ask you to come up and give some more detail, because these run the nuts and bolts of the Trillium Foundation.
Thank you. This is going to be a speech, but I'm not really, I just want to, first of all, great to be here. Second of all, just to give you a quick insight into who we are. So the Trillium Foundation gets so much money in the Greater Toronto Area. It's about $15 million a year. That has been supported by all three parties in the government as a priority, because there's been a lot of cost cutting. These are tough times in government, but we're really happy to see that there's still a commitment to supporting important community initiatives. So this specific initiative, and I'm originally from rural Eastern Ontario. I moved to Toronto after school, and I remember my first apartment downtown at Isabella and Jarvis, and
Hasn't changed much, man.
It hasn't. And I actually think my laundry, I think my second or third day I called home crying because somebody stole my laundry out of the dryer, and I took it away up to my room. You know, small town boy, trusts everybody. But that is to say that that it was a lonely experience for me. Kind of didn't know anybody here, and you're in a high rise in a big city, and it can be a bit lonely, and I got involved in my tenants group. So for a couple of reasons, I see and I live the benefits of that. And I think it's important that we support those communities. And there have been a lot of reports. I know Janet Davis can speak to some of this too, in terms of the United Way's work and identifying different communities of the cities and different pockets of poverty and challenges integrating and whatnot. We've identified, with the support of United Way and others, that high-rises are an area where we need to have some special attention and strategies to focus to support people who live in those communities. And this is one small way, a 2-year grant of a little over $120,000 to support the Tenants Association, to share best practices, to integrate, to give people in high-rise apartment buildings the tools they need to conduct meetings and to tap into resources to support them. So I think it's a tremendous, and you get out of it what you put into it, and I think that's why it's important to be engaged. And I'm really happy, as a former tenant who lived in a high-rise building for many, many years, and as somebody who's at the board of the Trillium Foundation looking to make sure we get money to people who need it and who are going to use it wisely. Really pleased to see this today and to see so many of you out, and I wish you all the best. And am I saying that right? So we had a chance to chat, because she plays a huge facilitating role, and just seeing her talk excited about her work. And also we were talking a bit about different communities coming from different places, and you know, breaking down barriers about different people from different countries and not knowing them very well, and the work, the languages, connecting people from China or Africa with people from their community, so it's less lonely an experience and they can get exposed to the services that they need. So thank you for the work you do, and keep putting that money to good use. Thank you.
I wanted to thank Derek for that, because I've heard Derek speak and deliver that message himself, and it's very important that he comes from the tenant experience himself, and you've heard that story when you first moved to Toronto and how difficult it is, or can be. So that's what the purpose of the grant is for, and I hope you all become active advocates to change things and do better things for tenants and so on. That's a risky thing for a politician to say, because one of the people that you should be directing your remarks at, pointed and otherwise, are people like me. So I'm here to listen to what you have to say and see what we can do. And I know David's here, same purpose in mind, to hear what's on your mind. So use the money wisely, advocate wisely, and don't be afraid to ask politicians the difficult questions. Thanks.
This is Lori Kay, the person who's helping us put on this event, do some media for it, with the Trillium Foundation. Made very clear we have to have a nice photo op with Derek and the councillor presenting us with this lovely plaque. So I'd like to call up some of our members of the board: John, Effie, Kevin, Heather. Could you folks come up?
Kevin, how are you? I know how to get Derek to smile. You want your clothes back now? I know how to get you to smile. You want your clothes back now?
You are welcome in
My favorite character.
Hey, Barry. That's why that guy works so fast for months later.
Come on, Santa. You got a Willowdale picture. There is the next subway station.
No, it's mine.
What's the next one?
It's excellent.
You know, Janet has found this area.
Folks, big smiles.
Big smiles.
And everyone say tenant rights.
Subway, subway, subway.
So we are going to talk about transportation then.
Sorry.
Hey, thanks, folks, and thank you to the Trillium Foundation very much. Now, because we have some other folks. Oh yes, because we have some other councillors that have taken the time to come down and talk with us and tell us about the things that they're working on. We'd like to give the chance to Councillor Shiner to speak in his ward. A building that he's assured me he's been here to many times in the last quarter century.
Yes, when I started, it was not gray and it was much thicker. And I've seen some old pictures and wondered why I did it. But anyways, it really is great to have you come up here today for the meeting. And Betty Ann, thank you for making the arrangements up here and hosting everyone. The organization in this building is phenomenal, and Betty Ann has kept it together for many years. And when you talk about being a tenant or being a homeowner, yes, I was a homeowner in this area for 25 years. Well, I was also a tenant. And I had an apartment at Isabella and Jarvis.
Oh,
Did you steal the laundry?
What's your waistline?
At the time, they was a lot smaller. I can't say. But I've been a tenant in many other spots around the city, believe it or not. Because many people take me as a homeowner raising a family in Bayview Village, but in many parts of the city I've lived as a tenant and currently am a tenant. That was in the newspaper recently.
I was about to say that, I'm glad you did.
Misrepresented, of course. But I understand that, and the work of the Federation of Metro Tenants Association here in Toronto is just phenomenal, and I've always been a supporter of it. Because it's most important for me, and I believe for all of my colleagues, to hear from everyone, and the aspect of everyone that is within a community, and to be sure that they're all represented. And the role that we often play as elected officials is more than just what we do at our respective councils or government bodies. Because in this building, as we've known over the years, there's the ability that we have, because of the attention that we can bring to an item, to help in areas that maybe weren't within our legislative purview. You know, I mean, in this building a number of years ago, as the tenants here know, the landlord had changed the windows and told everybody you can't put air conditioners in. And we had a woman here up in her 80s that had to move out because the apartment got so hot in the summertime. And the landlord said, if you put it in to one of my friends that's still in the building here, we'll throw you out of the building. But a simple resolution to it is we found a way to make sure that we could fix that problem. And that was not because we had rights through bylaws or whatever, but in advocating on behalf of tenants and their needs, which is oh so important to do. And even when I deal with issues in the area, because the traffic in here is part of the, thanks to the development that's in the area and around the city, and anybody that didn't make it here on time, if you didn't use the Shepherd subway, it's your own fault. We can use more riders on it.
I want to, but it's broken down.
But we do bring everyone in, and when I work in the area, as I do in many local issues, I bring in condominium owners, I bring homeowners and ratepayer groups, from across the ward, and I bring in tenants. And Betty Ann spends the time and comes out to many of these meetings and the representatives to make sure that the tenant focus is also there because you live in the ward. And that's what's so important for all of us to do. So the fact that we're here together doing that and the fact that I can be of help to you, it's wonderful. Thank you for inviting me up here, and let's see what we can do today.
And now, all the way up to Bayview and Shepherd, from the sunny shores.
I did stamp Janet's passport.
Well, it really is a pleasure to.
Excuse me,
Yes.
David, can you bring us any greetings from Mr. Ford?
He doesn't do crack. Don't worry.
Absolutely. On behalf of the mayor and all the members of council, I'm only so glad to welcome you all here today.
And I'll do that on behalf of our deputy mayor, Norm Kelly. Although I didn't agree with him on the airport yesterday, I think he should. He's been so good so far. But anyway, I am pleased to be here. Clearly I'm missing something very exciting over at the mall. It's Black Friday. They open late. I think they're open early too.
Discounted prices at the mall are still very expensive.
Yes, and we do represent a variety of constituencies as councillors, and I'm pleased to see that some of the tenants from my end of the city are here, have made their way all the way up here, because we represent, as I said, different communities, and in my ward I represent a lot of low-income communities, and we know that most tenants, in fact, there's an absolute correlation, really, between poverty, racialized communities, and people living in high-rise apartments. That has been very clear, and the United Way's most recent report, called Vertical Poverty, has reinforced that. So I think it's great that FMTA actually is one of the organizations that bridges the income differences amongst tenants, because while you may have disparate interests, and some of you live in beautiful spaces like this, there are many, many, many tenants who live in really, really awful buildings in this city, and it's totally unacceptable. In a city like this, we should not have people living in squalid buildings in total disrepair, with pests and landlords who don't care. So I wanted to tell you, I'm so pleased that FMTA's got this money, because I think one of the best things any government could do is to give money for tenant organizing. If we want to change and empower, and change our neighborhoods, improve our buildings, we need to empower tenants. And we need to help them understand that they do have rights they can exercise under provincial legislation, and they do have rights that they can exercise under our property standards bylaws. And at the City of Toronto, we have been trying over the last few years under a program called MRAB, the Multi-Residential Apartment Building Program, to aggressively audit buildings using our property standards bylaws, force landlords to fix up their buildings. Now, I think we've been very successful in getting into all of the buildings across the city. However, I think there are still some problems with this program. We have not put the resources into MRAB to make sure that the re-inspections occur. We have not put resources into MRAB to make sure that the bylaw officers are there to reach more buildings every year. We have not put the resources in to complete the work that MRAM started, which is to start to really look at the quality of housing, of the stock of housing in the city of Toronto. So there's lots of work to be done on MRAB and using property standards to improve buildings for tenants in the city of Toronto. Recently, the Community Development and Recreation Committee formed a subcommittee, and we have now formed a tenants subcommittee again at the city. Now, David may not even know that happened, or other councillors may not even know, because our standing committees have a right to form their own subcommittees without them going to council. So this subcommittee has been formed. It is going to, in its terms of reference, it is to go out and consult with tenants further about what its terms of reference should be. So there's a kind of a draft terms of reference. As you know, the Tenant Defense Committee was eliminated in this term of council. So there are a number of people who feel we've got to put tenant issues back on the agenda at City Hall.
Here, here.
So this is one way, if we can get it established. We can hear from tenants over the next few months, get a good work plan in terms of reference put in place. We can set the stage for the next term of council, where hopefully we will have a more tenant-friendly administration in the city of Toronto. So, if you want to chat with me further, I'm happy to talk with you further. I can see you shaking your head like there's something you really need to say, or...
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, I guess. I'm not in charge.
Is there contact information for that subcommittee or someone on it?
Right now, there are 4 members, 4 members? 3 members, 3 or 4? I think there's 3, because 4 makes a quorum. It's this, that have put their names forward to be on the subcommittee.
So it's not formed yet?
It's not formed yet. Well, they have formed, but they have not called any meetings yet. So as soon as their first task is to consult with tenants, and I'm not sure exactly how they intend to do that. That could be one big meeting at City Hall, that might be good. A couple of big meetings across the city might be good. So we'd like to hear from you, how you think we should consult with you on what issues you think this committee should address in the long term, and how we should organize ourselves as a committee. Now, I'm not on that committee because I'm no longer on the Community Development Committee, but Kristen Wong, Tam, I think Marie Augenary, and Joe Mahevic, I think, are the 3 members, but we can send it to FMTA, whatever information that needs to get out to tenants, and they'll, I'm sure, pass it on to you.
And one other thing, we're going to have some meet and greet activities. You're going to get a chance to give that feedback directly in about 10 minutes. So
Can I say one other thing?
You may.
So the budget is coming up.
Are you running for mayor?
The City of Toronto. The budget's coming up at the City of Toronto. It's already been released. It was released on Monday. It's very easy to read, really. If you want to take the time, go on the city's website, toronto.ca. The budget icon comes up on the front page right away. Click on it and go to the analyst notes, and it'll tell you everything. If you want to find out about MLS, which is Municipal Licensing and Standards, which deals with property standards, you can go specifically and look at that. We did move a motion. I moved a motion at committee to ask to expand the number of buildings that MRAB will inspect in a year from 200 to 250. That motion, though, that recommendation was not recommended. That service level improvement was not recommended by the staff, and it is not in the budget. So whether or not we can put that in the budget, I don't know. It'll depend on other councillors, whether or not they will support enhancing the MRAD program this year. But there are many of you, like me, who think the Municipal Licensing and Standards Division has been understaffed and have not been able to deliver. Now, they did have a whole bunch of vacancies, and they've now filled, I think, about 17 vacancies in the division. So you'll probably get more responsiveness on property standards issues in the next little while. But I do think we need to keep telling the city that property standards is important for tenants. And you could come next week, Monday or Tuesday. Monday is deputations. If you want to come and speak to council, you have to register by 4 o'clock today. And that's very easy. BUC@toronto.ca. That's the budget committee at toronto.ca. Put your name in.
Now, just so everybody can register, we're gonna jump along. All right. So, some of that. Did you have any other things?
No.
Okay. Okay. Quick one. Quickly.
Per year, how many inspections are done?
What, for MRAD?
Yeah.
MRAD inspects 200 buildings a year. Yes,
Out of how many?
5,400.
So there will be more time for this later on. We're going to just quickly jump ahead. Let's give a round of warm applause. They've done a lot of good stuff for tenants and worked on a lot of issues. So thank you very much for speaking. So we're going to hear in a few moments before we get into our meet and greet activities from Erduse. Erduse is the our tenant community project worker. But before we get into that, we did want to say that working at the FMTA can be very demanding on your energy levels, on your soul. You do deal with a lot of difficult things, and I can only imagine what that would be like to do that for 10 years. And one of our employees has been doing that for 10 years as of this month. So we'd like to give a warm thank you, some recognition to everyone. Has been slogging it on the hotline, in buildings, so we'd like to present her with this award for 10 years of service at the FMTA, and some remuneration. So thanks, folks.
Can she retire off that check now?
Not here. And at the FMTA, no one goes in and no one comes out. Okay. Again, thanks. Thank you for coming. Okay. And before we get into our little activities, I'd like to have us Erduse Baumgarten, our tenant community development worker, close us out.
Okay, all right. I just got this little device here because I wrote a speech of about 2 hours that I'm going to be delivering now. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I am the tenant community worker. I'm the face behind this whole Trillium thing that is going on here. And my job is to help tenants build community through the creation of tenants associations and connecting to the resources and agencies in the city of Toronto that are available for tenants across Toronto and the GTA. And as it has been said, my work is funded by the Ontario Trillium Foundation. So before becoming a tenant worker, I was a councillor at the tenant hotline. And well, it was in the tenant hotline. The tenant hotline, I guess most people here know what it is. It's a place where if you have a huge problem in your building with your landlord, you call to get information on the law and what your options are. So working there, I heard many times that's where I started, I understood the need of tenants for tenants associations, because people seem to have these huge problems that they wouldn't be able to solve individually, but they could probably solve in a different way together with other tenants. Well, those requests, most times, they came from people living in high-rise buildings, what we call the towers. The towers have most towers in Toronto belong to huge companies. So the relationship between tenant and landlord is on top of every difficulty you might have, they're very impersonal. It's a corporation dealing with a person, so it's hard for tenants to do it alone. We also have the same type of need identified by our outreach and organizing team, the people that work with AGIs and go to buildings to help tenants that are facing above guideline increases. So having identified this need, we presented, the FMTA presented a project to the Ontario Trillium Foundation, and we were graciously funded. Then we set to work. So what I have done, I am working since end of August, beginning of September. Since September, I have been in direct contact, meeting personally with 13 tenants associations. We have started 10 new tenants associations. So these associations have already started doing a few activities. I got a few examples here. The people of the 33 King Street and the people from 160 Huron Street, which my friends are here, I'm very happy to see them, have submitted surveys to tenants about the level of satisfaction with the state of their buildings. Actually, Huron Street just elected their official steering committee a few days ago, and I'd like to congratulate them. People from 75 East Dale Avenue, they are disputing an above guideline increase in the landlord and tenant board. They are also planning to initiate conversations with the landlord, the building administration, about repairs and tenants issues. The people from 1501 Woodbine Avenue, those people did a remarkable job organizing an association. Their association has an executive of 8 members, plus a social committee, and they have 10 floor captains. It's a lot of people volunteering in this association, a lot of people involved in that work. So their association, the Woodbine Association, was established in September in a meeting with 90 tenants. Well, the future. The calls keep coming. Every day in the office I get somebody call and say, can you come and help us start a new tenant association? And I'm glad to oblige, because this is a job that I actually love. So I think there's a lot of work to do in the short term and the long term. We are going to set up this social infrastructure all over the city of Toronto. We want to involve people in community building. We want to have people to know their neighbors. I want to have people participating in educational and social activities, and also in developing relationships with city agencies. I'm finishing. Okay. I just want to say that we plan to organize and help stabilize hundreds of tenants associations across the province in the years to come. And the great benefit of that for the city of Toronto will be the growth of genuine tenant leadership in the transformation of our big towers in real communities where people talk to each other and get to know each other. That's it.
Oh, you're saying that now, but 2 years. So now we're going to have some quick activities, all right? What we're going to do is we're going to count you up into 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One of you will be 1, 2, 3, 4s. We're going to have you sit with a MVP, or a councillor, or another councillor, or with John from our Tenant Action Committee. I know I'm putting you on the spot, John, but you react well each time, so don't worry about it. And what we want you to do is this. We're going to give a couple minutes for the council and MVP to tell you what they're doing in terms of either tenant issues or for residents in their communities right now. We're going to then have you all talk about the major issues in your buildings. Now, this is very important. We don't have a lot of time. All right, we're going to get to lunch in about 15 minutes. So really, this is a chance for you to let the council know what your big issues are, or your MPP, what the big issues are, some interesting activities from your building, and for you to hear from some other folks around what's happening in their building. Okay? Sound good? Okay, so I'm going to have MPP Zimmerman here. We're going to reform those chairs into a circle. Councillor Shiner, it'd be great if you can go over there. Councillor Davis, if you could populate this table right here. And over here we're going to have John stand, okay? And it'll be 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to count you off. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1,